Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive question that is pretty much consuming the entire creator world right now. Can you genuinely create cinematic, high-budget content straight from a laptop? We're taking a close look at Higgsfield AI, a platform that's been making serious waves lately. We're going to dissect exactly how the magic happens and, just as importantly, where those illusions start to break down.
Because, well, the hype around this platform is massive. People are literally throwing around the promise of Hollywood-level special effects from a laptop. I mean, the whole idea is that instead of a massive crew, a giant soundstage, and a multi-million-dollar budget, you really just need a keyboard and a decent internet connection. But are we actually there yet? Let's find out.
To really separate the hype from the reality today, we've broken this down into 5 clear stages. Number 1, the AI Hollywood promise. 2, locking in the elements. 3, directing the scene. 4, automating the process. And finally, number 5, the reality check.
So, let's kick things off with Section 1, the AI Hollywood promise.
Now, when pushed to its absolute limits, the potential here is undeniably dazzling. You've got creators building these wild sci-fi action shorts like Hell Grind and Adaliata, or crafting totally photorealistic commercials for headphones and minimalist watches. But what's really absolutely crucial here is the active defeat of the slop. You know what I mean? That flat, plasticky, overly smooth look that just screams, hey, an AI made this. Instead, we're seeing crisp textures, incredible cinematic lighting, and this idea of infinite concepting, where insanely expensive physical pilots are actually being replaced by digital storyboards. But here's the catch. Getting these top-tier results is definitely not as simple as just typing a sentence into a box.
Which brings us to Section 2, locking in the elements.
Okay, so this right here is the core mechanic of Higgsfield. It's called the element. This specific feature solves literally the biggest headache in AI video generation, stopping your main character from completely changing faces every time the camera cuts. It's like a digital anchor. By generating a character once, saving them as an element, and then just using an @tag in your prompts, the system pulls that exact visual reference back in. It is absolutely foundational for your entire production.
And by following this 3-step workflow, creators anchor their scenes in repeatable, reliable mechanics, rather than just crossing their fingers and guessing with text prompts. First, you build and lock your assets. Then, you use an external tool, like Claude, for example, to write out a highly detailed connected shot list. And finally, you pull all those assets and prompts into Cinema Studio to actually generate the shots. Honestly, it's a highly manual, very methodical process.
And because it's so manual, there are some pretty wild pro tips creators have learned the hard way. For instance, when you're creating your character sheets, you really want a 3-panel view on a plain gray background, just to prevent any visual clutter. But check this out, this is fascinating. If the AI gives you a reference sheet with multiple faces in the background, you literally have to go into an editor and manually erase those extra faces, so the model knows exactly which one to lock onto. Some creators even use manual photo masking. They'll overlay an original high-res face onto newly generated clothes just to avoid that dreaded plastic degradation.
All right, moving right along to Section 3, directing the scene.
What's really cool here is how Higgsfield actually translates real-world cinematography jargon into simple software settings. You're no longer just typing, "make it look cool, please." You're stepping into the director's chair. You can set a 14mm focal length at f11 for a really sharp, epic stadium establishing shot, or you drop to a 50mm lens at f1.4 to blur out the background for a super intimate dialogue scene. You see exactly how controlling focal length and aperture totally transforms the emotional feel of an image, exactly like you would on a real Hollywood set.
And seriously, do not underestimate the simple tricks. It's crazy how just switching the aspect ratio to 21:9 immediately tricks your brain into feeling like it's watching a massive high-budget movie. Before you even process what's happening on screen, those cinematic black bars communicate that, hey, this is premium storytelling.
The sources we reviewed also revealed some incredibly clever directing hacks to bypass the AI's limitations, which keeps you from burning through expensive credits on ruined shots. For example, AI is notoriously terrible at spatial awareness, right? So creators will actually draw a schematic map in GPT image with a block representing a prop just to force the AI to keep it in the exact same geographic spot. Also, if you want a character to dance, you can't just type dance. You have to literally choreograph it move by move. Head nod, knee dip, finger snap. And my absolute favorite hack, if a character goes for a run, you actually have to build 2 separate element sheets, a dry version and a sweaty version, and then manually swap them halfway through the scene to maintain continuity.
Now let's pivot a bit and look at Section 4, automating the process.
So this introduces a newer tool called MCP, or Model Context Protocol. Now, while that definitely sounds like some dense developer jargon, MCP basically lets you command the entire video platform from a single external chat window. It actually allows you to run Higgsfield seamlessly directly inside of another AI, like Claude, streamlining your entire workflow so you aren't constantly jumping between a dozen different tabs.
But as you might expect, the allure of total automation often clashes pretty hard with reality. The promise is incredible. You type one simple prompt and the supercomputer AI agent writes the script, sets all the cameras, and delivers a perfect 30-second commercial. The reality, however, is that handing over the steering wheel entirely often results in a massive loss of creative control, which leads to awkward, totally unusable outputs.
And that brings us right into Section 5, the reality check. We really have to ask this direct question to separate the flashy marketing claims from actual real-world user experiences. Does the automated supercomputer feature actually work for high-end professional content today? Let's take an objective look at what happened when the sources actually tested it out.
Well, when relying purely on the automated AI agent, users reported some truly bizarre anomalies. For instance, when they asked for a raw, user-generated normal neighbor-style ad, the AI stubbornly kept generating hyper-polished supermodels standing in immaculate kitchens. An automated 30-second video they ran featured a character speaking with 3 completely different voices in the exact same clip. And the physics hallucinations? Just wild. One prompt for moon landing resulted in a golf flag being planted while the Earth literally rested right on the lunar surface. Add in hard UI crashes where the marketing studio outright rejected basic product URLs without any explanation, and it becomes pretty clear that the automation still needs a whole lot of hand-holding.
And this number right here is absolutely vital to understand. 15. 15 seconds is the absolute maximum generation limit on the Cdance 2.0 base model. This proves that no matter how fancy the interface is or how much automation you layer on top of it, you simply cannot outrun the underlying model's limits. If you ask the chatbot for a 30-second video, it is really just mashing 2 15-second clips together behind the scenes, which is exactly why those characters suddenly end up with different voices and magically changing outfits mid-sentence.
So you have to be incredibly careful here. When you manually generate shots, you control your credit usage, but running these automated bots can result in what users are calling a credit speedrun. If you tell an AI agent to go build an entire campaign and that prompt goes rogue, it will happily drain hundreds of dollars of generation credits without ever asking for your permission.
Honestly, this quote from a successful creator in the source material completely grounds this entire explainer. It reminds us that despite all the talk of magic algorithms and push-button automation, iteration, patience, and heavy manual curation are the true secrets to AI filmmaking right now. You aren't generating a masterpiece in one click. You are sifting through dozens of failures just to find those 3 seconds of absolute gold.
Which leaves us with this final thought. With all these incredible tools, clever workarounds, and occasional wild hallucinations, are we actually directing AI right now? Or are we just pulling a digital slot machine lever until we finally hit the jackpot? The technology is breathtaking for sure, but the human element, the patience, the mapping, the tweaking, is still exactly what separates the slot from the truly cinematic. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what you see on screen.